Decoupaging any surface with a pretty napkin is a great budget-friendly way to dress it up for special occasions, seasons, or holidays. Today we're going to show you our favorite technique for decoupaging napkins onto a plastic surface without wrinkles, although you can use this technique for other surfaces as well. Hi there, I'm Jane from Sustain My Craft Habit and welcome back to our channel. We do a lot of upcycling and decoupage projects here at Sustain My Craft Habit, and I just wanted to show you how easy it can be to transform something like this protein powder canister that was destined for the recycling bin, but turn it into a pretty piece of decor. This craft I actually have displayed out on my front porch for the fall season. One of the trickiest parts of these projects is getting that label off of the surface, and I find the simplest way to do that is to apply a bit of heat. I use my crafting heat tool, but you can use a blow dryer, and that kind of melts the adhesive on the back of the label and then makes it much easier to peel off without having to use other chemicals or scraping. So once we have our nice smooth cleaned surface, we are going to do the next step. This canister is already a white color, so I didn't bother painting it, but if you're decoupaging a napkin on any darker surface, if it's a light colored napkin like what I'm using, you will want to paint it with a white or light colored paint underneath. Otherwise, that napkin will look a little bit dark and murky once you decoupage it on. Now, once we've prepared our surface by removing that label, if you need to, you can also wash off any grease or dirt. Dry that and paint it your lighter color if needed. It's time to add your decoupage glue. I'm using Mod Podge and simply putting on a thin coat all over the entire surface. We're using the iron-on method for this technique, which is really my favorite way of getting a no wrinkle finish for decoupage projects using a thin napkin. So once we've applied that coat of Mod Podge, we need to dry it completely, and I'm using my heat tool to help that process, but you can just let it air dry as well. Once that's dry, it's time to add on our napkin. Another tip here is to make sure that you're using the single ply of the printed napkin, and an easy way to separate them is to put a little bit of the decoupage glue on your finger. Wait for a couple of seconds until that glue becomes tacky, and then pinch the corners of the napkin between your fingers, and this will separate those layers, making it really easy to isolate that single top layer. Now that we've got our single ply, it's time to press it down into the surface. Now for this step, you'll need a little heat iron. I'm using my Cricut Easy Press Mini. This is such a great tool for the craft room. I absolutely love it, and we'll link it down in the description. But you can find other mini irons on Amazon or your favorite craft store. Even a larger clothing iron would work for this as well. But we're using the heat from the iron to really press that napkin into the dried Mod Podge. And I just put a piece of parchment paper over top so that my iron doesn't stick to the napkin or tear the napkin. You'll want to slowly work your way around the entire canister or the flat surface that you're planning to use and press that napkin right onto there. And you can see that it creates a beautiful, smooth, wrinkle-free result with your napkin. You can see here I am bringing that napkin right over that top kind of rounded rim of the canister. And to help that, I'm just cutting some little slits into the napkin, which help to make sure that it's going to lay nice and flat without too many creases. And then again, simply using my hot tool to press the napkin right into the decoupage glue that we had put on there earlier. You can see how beautiful this looks. It looks as if that cover was custom made for this particular canister. But this iron-on method for decoupaging napkins without wrinkles works on plastic, it works on wood. I've done it on metal and glass. So really, the only time it's not going to work is if your surface is really bumpy. that the iron can't press onto there evenly, then I would do the more traditional decoupage method with the wet decoupage, and maybe use a piece of saran wrap to help smooth out the napkin onto that surface. For the bottom section of the canister, I'm repeating this process, so I decided to trim off the excess napkin so that it would go to that first kind of ridge of the bottom of it, and then cut some vertical slits in there to help the napkin fold over without having too many pleats. And again, went around with my little heat tool and pressed the napkin into the glue. Since my napkin wasn't big enough to completely go around the canister, I will later try to match up another piece of the napkin and just fill in that gap towards the back so that the design is continuous all the way around. After completing this part, I realized that I actually hadn't put any Mod Podge around the bottom rim of the canister, so I just did it again now with a brush and made sure to tuck that Mod Podge in there. Now, to seal the entire surface to protect it, especially if you want to put it outside, you could apply a coat of the Mod Podge over top at this point. I prefer to use DuraClear. It's a little bit thinner and easier to work with. It doesn't cause the tissue to pucker or wrinkle at this point when you've made it nice and flat. And that's really all there is to decoupaging with a napkin without wrinkles using the iron-on technique. To finish off this canister, I decided to paint the lid with a green multi-surface satin paint, and also added a few embellishments such as some raffia around the neck of the canister. I added on some wood beads and a little bit of a colorful berry from the dollar store. Once the paint on the lid was completely dry, I actually added on this cute cabinet knob that I ordered off of Amazon, and finally finished off the piece with a decal. I think this was also from the Dollar Tree that says thankful. It's just a see-through sticker that I pasted right on there. So there we go. I hope you were inspired by this craft and upcycling idea, taking an old plastic container that was destined for the recycling bin. Let us know in the comments below if you've tried the iron-on technique or if you have any other tips for decoupaging a napkin without wrinkles. Be sure to like and subscribe, and see you again next time. Bye.